Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are pleased to kickstart the day with our first session, which is Global Content Innovators, Leadership, Collaboration, and the Path Forward. So, in the fast evolving broadcasting industry, global content innovators are leading the charge in shaping the future of media. This session will explore the vital roles of leadership and collaboration amongst creators, producers, and distributors as they navigate the challenges and opportunities presented by our diverse, interconnected world. I'm very pleased to first introduce the moderator of this session, Mr. Sharad Patel, founder, chairman, and managing director, SP Cinecorp. Sharad Patel is the producer of national award winning political thriller The Tashkent Files, Gujarati blockbuster Cello Divas, critically acclaimed Bollywood film Buddha in a Traffic Jam, Gujarati tragicomedy Vikida no Var Ghodo, Gujarati Slice of Life Bachu Bai, Hisab Barabar with leading R. Madhavan on release and more. Thank you, Sharad, for moderating this session. I would also like to invite the panelists for this session, Mr. Ashish Singh, producer, Red Chilies, Mr. Shibashish Sarkar, Group CEO, Reliance Entertainment, Mr. Vivek Krishnani, CEO, Films Business, IN10 Media Network. I will request Sharad to please introduce our panelists and to please lead the session. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm very happy to lead this panel as a moderator. And first of all, I'm very happy that all of us sitting here are, we are good friends and colleagues in the industry. So it's going to be quite of an informal session, I guess. Let me first introduce Mr. Shivashish Sarkar, who is Group CEO of Reliance Entertainment, who has led multiple verticals in Reliance over more than 15 years, or I don't know, the count goes on. And leading into films, TV, OTT, animation, gaming, and what more. With a career spanning for more than 500 films, which is really a great achievement. Leading into production, distribution, and an entire studio management. And most important, he's a people's person. His body of work speaks it all. He has led as a president of Producers Guild of India for 3 consecutive time, which is a great thing. So please applaud for him. Happy to have you here. Then we have Mr. Vivek Krishnani, who is President CEO of Movieverse, which is an Ink10 media network vertical, leading into film production and revenue growth. And earlier, I have met him when he was with Sony as an MD, and very forward-thinking guy. In fact, my first interaction with him was for a Hollywood film, which eventually I guess will make it. While he has earlier led with Fox Studios as well, so a great span of career. Then we have Ashish Singh, who is leading as a producer at Red Chilies. He has been into content creation, production, monetization. He has a long and tall span of career, which really resonates with his height. Led as a CEO, Leica, earlier he led originals at Netflix, CEO at Balaji Motion Pictures, he led YRF, and what more. And he has been behind some of the biggest films, playing very crucial and important role, which spans into Chak De, Doom 2 and 3, Tiger Zinda Hai, Band Baza Bharat, and so many films. With experience of working in more than 35 countries into production, and successfully managed to get some of the best rebates and subsidies, right? Which we are talking about, the globalization and the co-productions. So happy to have you all here, and thank you very much for making it early morning. So I'll dive into the session while we talk about global content innovators, leadership, collaboration, and path forward. I'll start with leadership. So I would like to ask you all, in today's global content space, where now audience watches contents from all languages and there are no barriers of language or region or countries, how do we really lead creating a balance between the creative vision and the commercial demands with all commercial challenges in the current times, and especially for the Indian content where globally people want to consume Indian content, and at the same point of time as producers we are all facing challenges in terms of the budgets and the commercial viability. So how do we lead it as leaders? Yeah.
I think first thing first, when Sharad, you have been giving me the introduction, I was getting a little bit of Nanaji feeling. I mean, it's like, I mean, all of us are, God, we have been the furniture in the industry. Yeah? We have, on a most serious note, I think globally, and as well as that is true for India also, uh, we have been all, at least in this sector, we have been all going through a significant amount of unpredictable times. The good part of the story that the story is not only true for India, the story is true for even in the global scenario, and it is reflecting the situation here. So, in the last 5 years, last 4 years, last 5 years, that amount of transitions, what we have seen in terms of audiences' mindset, consumer preferences, type of content, quality of content, as you correctly said, language is not a barrier. That has resulted, there are two or three things which has happened. That one thing which has happened is that the audience's expectations of quality, that benchmark has significantly improved. Because today audience is a very evolved audience and he is consuming content across the globe. So there is no space for average. Probably there is no space for even just about good. Either it strikes with the audience or it doesn't strike. That is true for film, that is true for other mediums. What has happened in that scenario is that one way it has created more, I think, good part of the story that it has created more pressures on the creative and the producers community that, okay, I need to come out with more quality content. The bad part of the story, the business is very unpredictable. And what works, what does not work, that learning of last 30, 40, 50 years, everything has to be seen in a new prism. And we probably, as an industry, are still grappling with that what is the trend which will get established over a period. So with so many boxes or jigsaw puzzles open, the role of a producer, the role of a maker, the role of a creator, the role of us as a community is becoming increasingly difficult and important, because one, the learnings has changed. Two, there is definitely clear change in audiences consumption and preference pattern. Three, money is scarce, but it is not only money, time is scarce. So if an audience or a consumer has a certain amount of time only available for entertainment, that is being now shared between film and OTT and television and game and live sports, live events, etc. So you really have to get that attention to do something, to get that attention and then make him ready for paying the money. Indian scenario, of course, last couple of years, apart from all this jigsaw puzzle, we are also seeing multiple mergers or demergers happening or not happening. That is creating at a micro level more concerns or etc. That I'm more sure that in probably next 3 to 6 months time, that part of the things will get settled down. And probably in next 24 to 36 months time, we as the industry also will start understanding that what works, what does not work, what we talk loosely. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any one of us sitting on this side of the table have any understanding or knowledge more than the people sitting on the other side. We are all grappling in the same space. Probably there is a certain trend and certain understanding which will evolve over a period.
Thank you. Your thoughts?
Thanks, Sharad, and thanks, Shibashish, for letting everybody know that we have no idea about what to do with our business, which is true also. I think to add to what Shibashish said, he spoke about the consumer side and how the consumer has evolved. What is also happening is from a business side of things, the way the business was earlier being run was that there was this whole, when you look at a P&L of a film, there are different line items. There's a theatrical, then there's a digital, there's satellite, music, etc. Previously, the digital guys were willing to commit a number to a film on the basis of the cast and the basis of the story and the producers, etc. Now that thing has changed. So what that has done is that's put pressure on the producers now that if the content is not good, there is no guarantee that any of the line items will generate any revenue, right? Because theatrical obviously takes a hit if your content is not good. And then digital and satellite, you'll have to settle for whatever you get to save whatever little money that you can make out of it. So the pressure, the point that I'm trying to say is, I think as producers, what has become even more important, and with the increasing tastes of audiences, the focus has to go back to content. We have to kind of get into the space of what kind of content is going to get people into theaters. Even this direct to digital wave has taken a hit because the direct to digital volume of content has also gone down. So as a film producer earlier, if there were lots of producers lined up to make films for direct to digital, now even that is being pushed to theaters and saying release it in theaters and then bring it to us. So the reality of the business is that if you don't have a pulse of the audience, you don't know who you're making the film for, don't make the film. If you know your content and your audience, please go ahead and keep the budget in control, right? I think that is extremely important. So along with content, you got to keep your, cost in mind, and then keeping the cast in mind. So I would call them the 3 C's. There's the content, there's cost, and cast. And these are the 3 variables that really can mess up your thing, and the content being the first one. So to kind of answer your, also to just sum up quickly in terms of what it is, I think we are faced with headwinds, and we are going back to the time of the 90s where the producers अपने घर गिरवी रख के picture बनाते क्योंकि मेरे को conviction है ये picture चलेगी, right? And that is, I think, a time now where the conviction of the producer is put to test, and we have to kind of deliver to that conviction, without which content will fail, and we will not be kind of looking at recoveries. But on the other hand, if the film is good, and we've seen that happen, whether it was Lapata Ladies, or we've seen 12th Fail, or we've even seen good films like Stree, right, having done so well. It's purely the basis of content. Also, when you kind of look at the content and the actors in the films, an actor in film A delivers X humongous box office, and the same actor in film B doesn't deliver. So it is purely the proof of the pudding is the fact that the content has to deliver, and we have to focus on content. So yeah, having said that, I'd like to pass the mic on to Ashish.
Thanks Vivek, and thank you Sharad, thank you Shubhashish, thank you Vivek. So they already have let you all know what the issues are and what the problems are, and very clearly post-COVID we've gone through all this. But having said that, I personally am a very optimistic person, and we all here are to create good content, and like Vivek rightly said, that good content at the right budget can never fail, and that is what we all have been chasing, right? So personally, to your question, Sharad, about global audiences, I think what we should always focus on is first be local and then let it travel global. So that is the key, and that's what's happened in the South. Their focus was first their industry, and a lot of the content then traveled in the North and did very well. So from our point of view also, if you're seeing it from an India point of view, it's very important that first we cater to our audience, and a lot of it can travel abroad if the content is right, story is right, and there's an audience all over the world. I always tell people that every 7th person is an Indian, right? So how much can we fail? We just have to reach out to even a small percentage of that and achieve what we want to achieve. Couple of years back, we had a film called RRR, which we all are aware of, made for the Telugu industry, did fantastically well over there, traveled in the North, and then won an audience globally, even at the Oscars. So as Indians, if we get our act together, there's nothing to stop us. We've seen what our films have done in China earlier, when China, the market was open, whether it was Secret Superstar or Dangal or many other films that followed after that. So sky is the limit for us. And focus, but has to be the the local industry where you're catering to. So if you're talking about the Hindi industry sitting in Mumbai, we have to focus on films and characters that are very Indian, very local, and then let's see if it can travel globally and do well. Very simple. Keep the budget in control and focus on your content. Keep it close to your culture. Every seventh person is an Indian, and hope for the best.
Sorry, just to also add to Ashish, obviously, like he rightly said, we need to know the audience we're making the film for, right? So keep it local, take it global is a good mantra. And I think there's a huge opportunity there for us. Like we've seen how Korean content is now traveling across, and they have done a great job of transferring their culture into various markets in India and Europe and US for that matter. And that's a very strategic thought through process. It's not just a one night, one day, overnight it's happened. There's a very strategic. I think we need to kind of also put our minds together as to how do we kind of do that. But having said that, I think the other aspect of creating a content that goes globally, there is also opportunity where if you make good content, there's a demand for a remake for it from outside as well. Just in case, a point is a film called Maharaja that released recently. I got 3 calls from China saying that, is the film available for remake in China because of my friends from Sony there. So my point is that Indian travel content can travel in that way as well, where we can set benchmarks for quality content that can be remade in their own languages, and therefore the credit comes back to India in that way as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, taking further from what you guys shared, while we all know that there is a huge demand of Indian content from various markets, especially from China, right, where everyone wants to watch Indian content. What are the key factors that we should look at for great global collaborations, cross-border collaborations, right? Because right now, cross-border collaborations we have normally explored more from the point of view of subsidies and shooting in different countries, right, and showing a different landscape, which people have already seen it now. But at the same point of time, Indian stories and Indian content resonates really well with with different countries. So let's say China really looks for Indian stories. So how do you successfully collaborate while keeping the Indian authenticity in place on the global content and explore more monetization avenues?
So I think on that point, I agree with what Ashish made the point. That see, India, if you look at the country and the diversity of the country, it's a country which makes like 20-25 languages. We make films. Cultures are different. Cuisines are different. Costumes, dresses are different. If we can make a Hindi content travel in South, that itself will take us the first achievement in life. Right? The reverse has happened in last 5-7 years. We have seen that South large content pieces and not. I mean, there is no like. There's no like one way and everything. It's like some films which came and done humongous business in North. I have not seen in last 50 years, and maybe before that also I don't have that idea, that any Hindi film, Hindi language film, have been able to do a breakaway number in any of the southern state. So forget the global content. I'll first try to see whether an Hindi content can travel in South or the South content can travel in Hindi, which at least we have seen some examples like Pushpa or Triple R or KGF. But question is, each of those markets make 200 plus movies in every year. So they make close to, between Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam and Kannada, they make close to 700-800 films. When you still talk of the South film success stories in North, you boil down to 5 names and you don't know the 6th name, right? So coming back to the point where you were saying, I think global collaboration is definitely, I think in the history, we have looked at global collaboration more from a commercial viewpoint. Subsidies, tax credits, who invests what money, what recovery can happen where. Um, but I will prefer, because each of the segments, or India as a market, or the North as a market, or every language as a market, has so much of localized domestic audience already there. If the formula is correct, at least to cater your audience, that film or story will travel outside. So I take that point from Ashish, that first try to see that can you cater to your own audience, number one. If it does cater, and if the story does have a merit, then the story will travel, whether in forms of a remake right, or a dubbing right, or subtitle, and etc. Now, coming to the situation that at a story level, should we look at a global collaboration? The answer is yes, it has happened in the past also, off and on, where we have seen that between many countries, whether Indo-European film, or Indo-Hollywood films, or Indo-China film, many languages we have seen off and on, where the first premise has to be correct, that there needs to be a genuineness, that the story can travel to region. If the story travels to region, or there is or it's a universal theme which can travel everywhere, there definitely a collaboration or a financial structure can be worked around that. Each of these countries, like today, even India government has opened up a red carpet for the foreign films to come and shoot here, right? I mean, they give a close to like a 30 crore tax credit for foreign films to coming and shooting here. And we do the same thing when you go to an UK or Europe or any other country. So by and large, that collaboration, even if we talk today, happens more from a point of view of the financial consideration. From a creative consideration point of view, if it happens, I think the biggest high point can be seen as our quality of our stories, or richness of our stories. We are yet to delve into our mythology stories and travel outside, but it's happening. I mean, the good part of the situation is that it's happening. We are seeing, Ashish gave an example of Triple R, same like we have seen the last film like Kalki. It's a story of our mythology, but it traveled across the globe. So we are seeing those situations coming out. So, from a true collaboration point of view, one has to think whether the story travels are there or not, and enough examples are there. Otherwise, financial consideration point of view, that's routine. I mean, it's not something new.
Vivek or Ashish, would you want to add any point to this?
So I think the other thing that we have to keep in mind for any global collaboration, and so even currently we have a film called Drishyam, if you all know about it, which was made first in the Malayalam industry, then became a huge success in the Hindi industry, and now currently is being made in Korea. So which is a big win for the producers and for India in a very different way, because we had Korean films that we were like remaking. The thrillers of Korea were very popular with the Indian filmmakers, but here we have an Indian film that's being remade in Korea as a thriller. And similarly, it may even go to Hollywood, because the producer has announced an association and he wants to make it in English as well. So these are good examples, and maybe it'll kind of lead the way for other Indian films to follow if it becomes successful in these markets. The other thing we have to keep in mind in collaboration is the market itself. So it depends on where the collaboration is happening. Even when our Indian films now release in the non-traditional, so to say, Hindi or Bollywood markets, like say a Korea or a Japan, or they kind of reduce the length of the film. They try to edit the songs of the film. So which means that the market also has a certain taste that we should be conscious about. And that is something that we'll have to keep in mind, regarding any collaboration that we do. That's, I think, the key to it. And like Shibashi said, that it's usually a financial collaboration where three people are coming together to put in money and make a film and then monetize it and make profits or get recognition out of it. But there could be specific collaborations with countries to do a film in maybe the two languages. So if you're talking about Korea, it's a film, an Indian Hindi film that's done in Korean, or a Hindi film and a Korean language film with the same material in terms of. So yeah, again, the door is open for us, and it's up to us to push for it. And like I said, Drishyam could be a very big example for us, and let's hope for the best.
So I would like to take it further, talking about innovation and futuristic approach in terms of technology. We all have been talking about the evolution of the technology in content business. We talk about AI, we talk about the impact of virtual reality, virtual shoots, etc., etc. While we all agree to the fact that unless and until the content really clicks emotionally with the audience, right, it's not working. there were times when, and as producers, right, there has been phases where we really look at enhancing the content in terms of its technological aspects. But do you think that somewhere in course of doing that, as producers, a lot of people are even losing perspective onto connecting with the audience? And how do we keep a balance of the human connect and the emotional connect? I would rather put it emotional connect and the balance of the technological innovations.
Um, so I think to your point, if you're referring to AI and such technologies, they are here to stay, right? They're not going anywhere. We are seeing currently it's like a small baby, right? I mean, it's taking baby steps at the moment, but it's growing really, really fast. And therefore, to that extent, we need to be ready and prepared to adapt it and build it into our processes, and ensure that we are making the best use of it. It has broken the entry barrier for a lot of creators right now, right? Earlier, even for VFX and all, you needed this huge setups and stuff like that. Now, just sitting on your desk, you can put a prompt and it throws up fantastic images, and there are tons of tools of AI that I can talk about. But at the moment, I think the way AI, personally, I think we need to look at as content creators is to use AI as a tool for facilitating creation of content, but not for creating content. You understand the difference? Not for creativity, but for facilitating that creativity, right? Because I think at any point in time, AI learns from what is already existing. Now, a human mind is capable of kind of going beyond that into an imaginative space. And therefore, when you talk about creation, whether it's a story or a music or anything, it comes from that kind of space. So I think AI has to be strategically used for facilitating that creative output rather than actually using it to make a script or make a song. We might get there at some point in time, but I think as content creators, that should be our primary kind of focus, because the human element you can not remove from there. So that challenge will remain, but we have to be mindful of that and work accordingly. That's my.
Yeah, absolutely right. So as far as creativity is concerned, you need us. You can't replace a Steven Spielberg or a Rajamouli sir, with AI. There's no question about it. But AI can definitely be used to enhance lot of things, and it's already happening. So, for example, if I want a visual of something very unique, so I just type a dog walking in Mars, on Mars. So the kind of image that it can start throwing up to me can be very different from the way I perceive it, and because AI could be perceiving it in a very different way. So there are small ways of involving AI in everything that you do. A lot of it will happen in the posters that we make and in the marketing that we do, because there'll be a lot of ideas that'll be thrown through AI and then we can build on it. A lot of the production designers currently, or people who put up the sets, use AI to kind of have the visuals, for things like a palace, which is not real, but you want to create a palace and which is unique. So AI can definitely be used in many, many, many things. And it's all about data that's being fed in. And if the data is correct and if the tool is correct, it can definitely minimize a lot of work that we are doing. So if we were to build a plan or something and it would take weeks for us, probably it could save 2 weeks, and then the human mind and the human touch will probably be required in the last few days to kind of implement it. That's AI. Coming to AR and VR, you spoke about that also. So India is still a little, I would say, behind, in terms of using that technology for a lot of things, especially for our movies. Currently we're using it in other things like in exhibitions and like say tourism events where you can have a good visual of, and there are places where you can go and watch things being used. India still has a long way to go. But having said that, that seems to be the future for the simple reason that, again, the kind of immersive experience it can give, films may not be able to give you that. But one thing is clear, that it cannot be a 2.5 hour experience. So it will not compete with the movies, but it will definitely be an alternate way of seeking entertainment.
I'll probably take this piece as slightly differently. I think that technology innovation is a part of the journey, right? Technology innovations has happened in creation. Technology innovation has happened in medium of distribution. Um, but if you look at a holistically, that what provides entertainment to audience, um say 200 years back, this country, the entertainment medium might have been drama, maybe book, maybe culture, maybe yatra, maybe folk song, a different forms of medium. Um, and over a period, technology facilitate the experience, technology facilitate the creation as well as facilitate the audience uh, for that experience. Life changes, philosophy changes, demand changes, and it catered to that particular time. um, from an India perspective, even if you look at it last, say, 40 years of journey, we have seen how mediums of distribution have also changed, right? We have seen the television. Before that, it was, I mean, I'm talking of films, it was theatrical, then or any content. Then we have seen private television, we have seen home videos, we have seen VCRs, internet, digital, satellite, and what all or what not we will see. Similarly, in terms of quality of experience, small things all of us are aware, like sound or visual. Over a period, it has improved. Music, um, you're talking of AR and VR of the world. So the broad point is there is a specific audience time. What can you cater to the audience time in what mode and way, so that audience can be you can get that time and you can get a money. That's the broad point. Um One has to adapt to technology changes. There will be resistance always, but over a period of time, as fast as one adapt, things move towards a betterment of the overall scenario. And I foresee that that's going to happen, um, even for an AI or even for anything else which come up 5 years down the line. But the core point that what is that story? That story can be a 30-second story for an ad film, or it can be a 2.5 hour story for a feature film, or it can be a few thousand hours of story for a television. Uh, that depends upon the creator's gut of creating what an audience will like. The technology will only help to give tons and tons of reference and examples in front of them to take a path. But the ultimate that path call will depend upon the creator or the writer at the end of the day, specific to this point.
So while concluding, a last question I would like to pass on. It's more from a suggestion as industry leaders. So while India is being positioned and growing towards being the global content leader, where all the world is eyeing at Indian content, but still there is a lot of volatility in terms of the business. Uh, any suggestion for how to create a long-term sustainable and a stable market? I'm saying as Indian content is being consumed globally, and India stands to be global leader as a content or in the content space. But there is a lot of volatility in the business in terms of, right. We have seen a lot of waves, a lot of down waves as well, which has affected lot many people's careers as well, right? Any suggestion? I know there is no permanent solution, but any suggestion as leaders, as producers of the industry, also everyone coming from a corporate experience and independent experience as well. Any suggestion for a long-term sustainable growth? That at least there is a sustainable and there is a little bit of stability in the market.
So, see, I think as much as we wish uh, to say that we'll take a pole position in the global content market, there are some intrinsic barrier to do that. And as much as we say that language is not the barrier, language is a barrier, right? Today, the reason why Hollywood is being there in so many countries, the primary reason because the language, English language, is transferred to so many places. And that's why the countries where they are very strong in their local market and I mean, there are countries like, say, you look at a Russian content, you look at Chinese content. Uh, their own market, they have catered to their own market and create to a level and then and survives on the domestic market or the domestic language speaking consumers market before thinking that how we can take a global position. So for India, I think for at least our generation or for the next generation of community who will be in this space, we will think that at least let us strive to achieve that how we as a ecosystem can be that X percentage of the GDP of this country. I mean, if we are talking of today a 3 lakh crore, 4 lakh crore size of industry, I'm talking of the overall media and entertainment as a space. One has to see that how we can be, apart from the soft powers, how we can be even from a financial point of view, how we can be a reasonable space in the country, in the overall ecosystem. And when you honestly, when you say that what are the sustainable way of making a business stable over a period, there are only two things. Whatever we do, whether we are working in an FMCG product and selling a biscuit, or we are selling a content, or we are selling a washing machine, or we are selling a fridge, one overwhelming line is you make your product, somebody has to buy and somebody is ready to pay price. If this does not work, if there is a grammatical error in that, we will find phases that we will find OTTs will come and spend some 10,000 crore or 20,000 crore and then they will die down. We'll find another medium, satellite will come and they will spend 50,000 crore or kind of price and then it will stabilize. So the core issue is that what is an audience is willing to pay. So as a creator community, I think there is a large responsibility of us that whatever we are creating, that mindset of I am creating and passing on my financial burden or risk to someone else and then to someone else, we have to change away from that mindset and think that what is an audience or an advertiser is ready to pay, because that is the last pie. If a business model can be stitched from that last pie backwards, then the business model will exist. Otherwise, the business model will continue, but it will have to correct every 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, whenever there is a technology shift or whenever there is an economic shift in the country. So broadly, whether I am selling sugar or I am selling a film, one has to think through over a phase of time that I am making something which somebody will be ready to buy at a certain price. Is it economically workable or not? Otherwise, that time, that audience will spend on something else, which he find more useful.
Absolutely. I think, to Shibashi's point, that we need to create content that will find people putting their hands into their... Because see, a movie viewing experience or going to a cinema experience is a very effort-oriented and money-oriented experience, right? You have to kind of get into your car, drive to the theater, put your hand into your pocket, pay for the tickets, go pay for concessions, find whatever. Before that, find parking. It's a very effort-oriented process. To enable people to get out of their homes to do all of this, the content be bloody well good. Otherwise, people are not going to do that at all. So I think that being said, I think what Shibashi said is absolutely relevant, that we need to focus on ensuring that we know who the buyer of that content is, create the content to that particular audience and organize. Also, when we're looking at global and how we kind of make ourselves globally relevant, if you look at the evolution of Hollywood cinema, Hollywood in its heydays, the way the market was structured was they used to be 70 or 80% domestic and 20% international, right? They focused on first making content relevant and working for audiences in their own market before they started going outside. हमारा यहाँ पे उल्टा है, हमारा खुद का कंटेंट हम कोई देख नहीं रहा, हम बाहर दिखाना चाहते हैं. I think first we need to focus on ensuring that we have a robust domestic market before we start taking our content globally. And I think once we do that, then there will automatically be a demand for our content globally, because there will be a huge kind of upsurge of people wanting to see this content globally. And the other good thing that's happened is the reason why our content is now traveling globally is because along with cinema, because unfortunately movies are watched by Indian diaspora at the moment in theaters. But the content travels because of OTT into mainstream audiences' homes, right? When RRR was being released, when RRR was about to win the Oscar in the US, there were RRR parties being held in American homes where they were playing music and dancing to that music and watching that film, because the film, enablers like Netflix and Amazon and all these guys enabled the content to reach their houses. So we have that capability. And now if we make the content good, that content can definitely travel. But the focus has to be growing our homegrown domestic market first before we think internationally. वो international तो हो जाएगा अगर हम अपना content पहले अपना घर में सुधारें. I think that's my.
You're absolutely right, Vivek. There's no question about it. First, अपने घर को ठीक करो पहले, like you're saying. Yeah. So get your house in order. I think that's most important. But to your question regarding global, how do you make it happen? So obviously it's very difficult. It's not that easy. Shibashish's point is very valid. Language itself is such a big issue. The length of our films is such a big issue. We have songs in our films which you just see a girl and you are dancing in Switzerland, right? So a lot of the global audiences don't get it. Like, what happened here? What happened to your intelligence? So we have to be very sensitive to each market. And it doesn't mean that our films are bad. So I'm not trying to say that. But if you're talking about global growth, you have to plan it in such a way. So like Vivek spoke about how Hollywood grew their market. So if you used to see when the market was growing, and Vivek, I'm sure you know about this, that Japan became a very big market for Hollywood, right? So there was a time maybe 20 years back or 15 years back where in a Hollywood film you could see a Japanese character. Just to kind of have a play in that market. So when it releases in Japan, they kind of identify with that character and they feel, arey, this film is, catering to us in some little form. Then China became a big market when China opened up. So now there were a lot of these Hollywood films where you have a Chinese superhero, you have a Chinese agent, good or bad, whatever it is. But so that's one way of planning it. It's not easy because we are making films in Hindi. Now, how do you get a Japanese character in it in the middle of it? So unless Tiger is going to Japan to for his next mission, then it's a different thing altogether. But they have planned it. We have to plan it. And we have to plan each market. Like even Germany used to be a small market, maybe 15 years back. But then when Mr. Shah Rukh Khan's films released over there suddenly became an awareness. And a lot of the local audience started going for those films. So we have to probably plan it that these are the key markets where there could be an Indian audience and then get the local guys to come and watch the film. It will take ages to do it, but sky's the limit. And again, like I said, we are content creators. We create 1,000 films a year. Can we not make 2 or 3 films that can travel globally? We surely can. We just have to put our heads together. And then it's a little luck, and a film has to travel and kind of outperform there. Let's be optimistic about it, and let's see that, and let's hope that in the couple of years we'll see a lot of Indian films travel globally. I spoke about Drishyam and the remake of Drishyam, and let's hope for the best there. And I'm sure there are so many films being planned, and like Vivek spoke about how content now travels in 190 countries because of Netflix and Prime and Disney and all of that. Let's hope that we start hitting newer markets and start creating demand for our films over there. In fact, China is a glaring example of how our film started traveling. What I've heard from my friends over there is that when Three Idiots released over there, it didn't release in the theaters first. It released in the digital space, and a lot of it was pirated. And they loved Three Idiots because the content was such. It was about youngsters, college, their issues. And this is an issue that all of China also faces, most of it at least, the social issues. And they started liking that film so much that unofficially it became a big hit in the digital space. And it was a pirated copy. And that's how Amir Sir became such a big star over there. And then when Dangal released, and when Secret Superstar released over there was already an audience for his film because of the piracy of Three Idiots. So these are ways that we can start penetrating in some markets and then hope for the best. And we surely can.
So I think to sum it up, as content producers and makers, as pioneers in the industry, it's a lot of heavy lifting on our shoulders to lead with a conviction and create new markets and new domains. Before we end the session, I think we are already running short of time, but from the audience, if anyone wants to ask, we may be able to take 1 or 2 questions. Please feel free. I think everyone has got the business.